Following is an excerpt from the Glenn Beck television program. This little part of the program, the participants and Glenn are talking about Bitcoin. I just thought it was interesting and wanted to share.
All right, let's go back here. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you talked about the digital currency that's coming.
Yeah.
I'm curious, how do they get away from the legal tender laws, which basically was put in place to force us for the non-backed currency? It forced us to use it. You couldn't say, well, I just want silver certificates. You had to accept the legal tender. And then the Uniform Commercial Code gave it a penalty where it said, if you tender an offer and that offer is refused, it's deemed to be paid. So when we get away from this paper money to digital currency, they've got to change that, because that.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, I'm not up on all of those. I'm not up on all of those.
But have they made the law already that allows for that? Because it's encoded.
Not here,
right.
But they're doing that in Australia. They're doing that in India.
Because those laws aren't there apparently.
Right, and it's not. It's not. This is not unusual. This is not a conspiracy. This isn't. This is the next logical step. Anybody here under 30? Okay, one. Okay. Let me ask you this. When's the last time you went to the bank and took out 2 weeks' worth of cash to have in your pocket? I mean, I can't remember the last time I even went to a bank. I can't remember the last time I went to an ATM machine unless I was out of town someplace. And even then, I think that might be a foggy memory. Digital currency is coming. And it's coming because it makes sense for the way people live. But how it's controlled is important. That's why Bitcoin is so important. Yes.
Yeah, I wanted to say on the Bitcoin front, I'm now a miner, and I'm actually switching out of the dollar this week into using Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies everywhere.
Entirely?
Yeah, everywhere that Visa's accepted it, it does an on-the-spot conversion through an app. And there's a lot more to this to come. I mean, my primary living is off real estate and investing, but this is something that's a hobby for me that's turning into something else.
Are you concerned at all? I own Bitcoin. Are you concerned at all that when this comes down and changes, the global powers of the world, if you will, I mean, they have to pay the banks. The banks have to be, they're going to be made whole, and instead of doing it the right way with write-downs, they're going to do bail-ins. And that's what they're doing over in Europe already. Are you concerned at all that the governments of the world say, no Bitcoin, you have to do all of the cryptocurrency through us?
I'm concerned that the blockchain technology and the banks that are already using it are going to lead to that down the road in the future. But where we are today, I don't think people realize that these miners and this network is global, and that China suppressed it over the Christmas, New Year's holiday, but they couldn't control the entire thing simply because the computers and servers and networks are spread all over the world.
Yeah.
And it's built by the trust of the users. But like I said, if there's a crackdown or if they make it some kind of official thing, that is something yet to be seen.
Didn't Bitcoin just go through the roof too?
Is
that why they
just
had to
passed
crack down?
1,000 again a couple times? Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess my question would be, why isn't the ability to regulate a country's own currency has historically been considered as essential, if not more essential, to a nation's sovereignty than borders?
Yes.
Why does that no longer apply?
I don't think this is going to be. I don't think this stuff is going to matter because I think it's going to come out of a giant shock to the system. Just like we all would have said on Monday, there's no way the United States could collapse. The global economy can't collapse, and if it did, there's no way we're bailing out the banks. And by Friday, we all approved of TARP. Well, not all of us, but the government approved of TARP. That happened in a week. I think it'll be a shock to the system that this will be the way to straighten it out. And when that happens, people become desperate and they do it.
But in terms of accepting it now, I mean, part of Brexit, part of leaving the European Union was understood to be also leaving the euro.
So that's the real problem. The governments, the banking system, and the idea of the global community has been so bastardized and so misunderstood. The governments are making it so you lose your identity and your sovereignty and what makes you unique. Well, I like the little towns that are different in one state or one city than the other. And that's an easy way to understand. That's what Europe is saying. We're different. We're different. Doesn't mean I hate somebody else in the other town. We're just different. We want to do it our way. If we could get, and that's what Bitcoin allows you to do, is you do it any way you want. And the government's not telling you how to do it. They're misunderstanding the grind. They think it's just about the politicians, but it's not. It's about the globalization, the homogenization, the forced homogenization of everything. And I think it's just that grind, that tension's just going to get worse. Because as things become more tense, the governments around the world will become more intense, which will cause more dissatisfaction, more people saying, I don't want to be a part of that. And how that ends? I don't know. I don't know. Back in a minute.
Well, there you have it. I was surprised to hear Mr. Glenn Beck say that he had Bitcoin. All of you all that are watching this video, 9 times 10, you are of the same opinion that I am, that Bitcoin is the coming thing. We don't have to be convinced. There's a lot of people that don't even know what Bitcoin is. You already know that yourself if you've been talking to people. Folks, we are here on the front end of a tsunami. Especially here in this Bitcoin funding team. We're at the front end of a tsunami. You guys need to air your inner tubes up because the water's going to get deep. We need to just double down right here the next 2 or 3 weeks. Let's double down and let's get this.